He thought he was pulling a gun on just another black man. But the moment he saw the ID card, the world stopped. His breath caught in his chest, and his arrogance melted into fear. Because standing in front of him was not just a man, he was a decorated U.S. Army general. And in that instant, the racist cop's life was about to change forever. The night was quiet in suburban Virginia. Streetlights flickered dimly, painting long shadows across the nearly empty highway. General Marcus Hale, a tall, broad-shouldered man with salt and pepper hair, drove home in his black SUV after a long day at the Pentagon. He had just returned from a week-long strategy meeting about overseas deployments, wearing his civilian clothes but with his military ID tucked neatly in his wallet. As he hummed softly to jazz on the radio, his mind wandered to his daughter's upcoming graduation. Suddenly, flashing red and blue lights pierced the calm behind him. Marcus sighed. He wasn't speeding. His car was up to code. Still, he pulled over to the shoulder. Behind him, Officer Darren Cole, a young cop with a shaved head and hard eyes, stepped out of his squad car. Darren had a reputation in his precinct, quick to escalate, quick to judge, especially against black drivers he pulled over. To him, every stop was a stage to assert dominance. He gripped his flashlight with one hand, the other resting on his holster as he approached Marcus's SUV. License and registration. Darren barked before even reaching the window. Marcus lowered the glass calmly, hands visible on the steering wheel. "Good evening, officer. May I ask what the stop is for?" he said, voice steady. Darren didn't like the calmness. To him, confidence from a black man was defiance. "Don't ask me questions. Step out of the car, now." Marcus frowned. He'd faced Taliban commanders, Russian generals, even presidents in tense rooms, but the hostility in this young cop's tone stung differently. "Sir, I'll comply," Marcus replied, opening the door slowly. But the moment his foot hit the pavement, Darren's instincts twisted. He saw a tall, powerful black man stepping out, and his hand went straight to his gun. "Hands where I can see them. Get down. Get on the ground, now." Darren shouted, weapon drawn and pointed directly at Marcus's chest. Drivers passing by slowed, horrified at the sight, a police officer aiming his firearm at a calm, unarmed black man in plain clothes. Marcus froze, his heart pounding, not in fear, but in disbelief. After 3 decades serving his country, wearing stars on his shoulders, leading thousands of soldiers, he was now treated like a criminal on his own streets. Marcus slowly raised his hands high. His voice was calm, but carried the weight of command. "Officer, I am complying. There's no need for the weapon." But Darren only barked louder, adrenaline rushing. "Shut up. Don't move," he yelled, finger trembling on the trigger. His mind screamed stereotypes, dangerous, threatening, non-compliant. He saw none of Marcus's composure, only the color of his skin. "Down on the ground." Darren screamed again. But Marcus didn't move. Not out of rebellion, but out of dignity. He'd knelt in prayer, in grief, in honor of fallen soldiers, but never under the threat of a misguided cop's gun. "Officer, I will not get on the ground," Marcus said firmly. "I am no threat to you. I am an American citizen. I've served this country longer than you've been alive." That only made Darren angrier. His pride flared, his authority challenged. "Don't talk back. You think you can lecture me?" He pressed closer, gun now just feet away from Marcus's chest. For the first time in years, Marcus felt a flash of raw anger. But he controlled it. The battlefield had taught him discipline. "Sir, lower your weapon before you make the biggest mistake of your life," Marcus said, eyes locking on Darren's with the piercing authority of a commanding officer. Something in his tone unsettled Darren. For the first time, doubt flickered in his mind. But his ego kept him pushing forward. "What are you, some kind of lawyer? A politician?" Think you're special? Out here, you're nothing. At that moment, Marcus decided it was time. Slowly, carefully, he reached into his back pocket. Darren flinched, gun tightening. Don't move. I'll shoot. But Marcus continued, calm as stone, pulling out a leather wallet. He flipped it open and held it up high. The gold badge gleamed under the headlights. United States Army. 4-star General Marcus Hale. Darren's mouth went dry. His eyes widened in shock. For a moment, the gun in his hand felt like it weighed 100 pounds. He just aimed his weapon at one of the highest-ranking officers in the entire U.S. military. The man who could walk into the White House without knocking. The man whose command extended over tens of thousands of soldiers. The silence was deafening. The flashing patrol car lights bathed both men in red and blue, like a scene frozen in time. Marcus stood tall, holding out his ID with steady hands. Darren's arm trembled, the reality of what he'd done sinking in like ice water. He lowered his weapon slowly, lips parting but no words coming out. He stuttered, his arrogance cracking into panic. Marcus's gaze was sharp but controlled. You just pointed a loaded weapon at a United States Army general, officer. Do you understand the gravity of that action? Darren swallowed hard, face pale. He had pulled his gun on senators' cars before without issue, roughed up young men at traffic stops, and always felt untouchable. But this was different. He hadn't just profiled a random driver. He had profiled a man who outranked everyone in his chain of command, except maybe the president himself. Passing cars slowed, cell phones out recording. The scene was going viral before it even ended. Darren's hands shook as he holstered his weapon. Sir, I didn't know, he muttered, voice trembling. Marcus stepped closer, towering over him. That's the problem. You didn't care to know. You saw my skin, not my humanity. You saw a stereotype, not a man. Darren tried to regain footing. Look, let's forget this happened, okay? No harm done. Marcus's jaw tightened. He thought of the countless names in headlines, black men and women who never walked away from stops like this. He thought of soldiers he'd buried, men of every race who'd fought side by side for the flag this officer claimed to serve. No harm done? Marcus repeated, his voice low, dangerous. You nearly ended a decorated general's life tonight because of your prejudice. The only reason you didn't pull that trigger was luck. That is not, no harm. That is systemic rot. The weight of Marcus's words hung heavy in the night. Darren felt smaller than he ever had before. For once, he was the one trembling, not his target. Within an hour, squad cars, supervisors, and even news crews filled the roadside. Marcus stood calmly, giving his statement, while Darren sat on the curb, face buried in his hands. His chief scolded him in front of everyone, but the real punishment was the silence from Marcus. He didn't shout. He didn't curse. His dignity spoke louder than any rage could. The next day, the incident hit every news outlet. Racist cop pulls gun on black army general. The video spread across social media like wildfire. Commentators raged. Veterans groups demanded Darren's firing. Senators called for reform. But what shook people most was the image, a calm black general, standing tall against the trembling gun of a young white officer. It became a symbol overnight. Weeks later, Darren was suspended without pay. Investigations piled up. For the first time, he was forced to confront himself. He sat alone in his apartment, replaying Marcus's words, "You saw my skin, not my humanity." Meanwhile, Marcus was invited to speak on national television. When asked how he felt about the incident, he said, "I've fought for this country my entire life. I've bled for its freedoms. But freedom means nothing if citizens cannot walk their own streets without fear of those sworn to protect them. This isn't about me. It's about every American who deserves dignity, respect, and equal justice under the law. His words brought millions to tears. The story closed not with rage, but with a call. Marcus visited police academies, giving speeches about respect, humility, and the dangers of implicit bias. Young cadets listened, many with tears in their eyes, as he described the moment he stared down the barrel of a gun in his own homeland. As for Darren, he lived the rest of his life with the stain of that night. But he also lived with the lesson, a haunting, unforgettable truth that no badge, no gun, no authority gave him the right to strip a man of his humanity. And Marcus? He walked forward, head high, still serving his country, this time not just on foreign battlefields, but in the fight for justice at home. Never judge a person by the color of their skin or the clothes they wear, judge them by the content of their character. Respect is not earned by rank or title, it's earned by humanity. If this story moved you, share it with someone today. Let's stand together for justice, equality, and kindness, because one act of respect can change a life, and one voice can change the world.